as a whole, as a company, is trying to sort of be AI forward. Very we are a very lean team. So our marketing, we're building out a marketing OS or a marketing brain so that all of our contacts live in a GitHub repo where we can sort of build out landing pages on top of it. The information gets updated automatically. Things like competitor research, like small things, but also like big things as well. So that's like marketing is very like in on Claude, but also for sales as well. Like things like this where, so this is an example. Sorry. So it turned that whatever that we were focused on into customized sort of a document for Settle based on what they are focused on. And the content is not AI content. This content is literally from our blog. So it's human researching, writing it out. It's just compiling everything and sort of making it into one document that we can then send out instead of us sending them like to 1,000, blogs. So this is an example of what it
This
looks
is
like.
very to another episode of Growth and Conversions podcast. Signal based outbound. Every GTM team is wrestling right now around signal based outbound. It's no longer about just building the list, but it's about hitting the right account, the right person, and the exact right time. You miss the signal and you miss the deal. Today, we'll break down how UserPilot scaled to $15 million in revenue. What happened when inbound slowed down, outbound, and ABM did not just help, it carried the growth. Let's welcome Bilal, one of the mind behind the success. Welcome, Bilal. Welcome to the show. Would you take a moment to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Meghna. Absolutely. So, pronounce it right. It's Bilal. And I sit in UserPilot, which is a B2B SaaS company, primarily serving product managers for three main things, which is user analytics, user feedback, and user engagement. And my role is primarily go-to-market strategy and ops, which is sort of a mix between revenue operations and GTM engineering now. So I support both the marketing team, which is my primary stakeholders, and the sales team as well.
You mentioned the traditional segmentation is broken down. Why do you say that? And how does it affect the pipeline?
Absolutely. So let me give you a sort of a small history. We at UsePilot were historically dependent on organic traffic. So everything for us was primarily organic led. All of our revenue, around like 97%, came from organic. And this is just before sort of ChatGPT came out in 2023, if I'm not wrong. And since then, it's always been one of our sort of big fears or like things that we need to diversify our pipeline. And in order to A, diversify where we're getting the revenue from pipeline, and B, go up market, we needed to go to the market, which is why we sort of formed this ABM slash outbound slash go to market motion, which was, hey, we need to be able to be intentional about which accounts we can target so we can get more ACV and we can go up market. And that sort of started in 2024 for us. And that's where we sort of started ABM as a whole, which we call our motion to diversify. And within it, we had like sub segments. One part was outbound, one part, of course, programmatic advertising on LinkedIn. And then recently we've been thinking about gifting as well. So things like this. And why I say that segmentation was initially, like, at least broken for us as well, but for most companies it is mm, ABM is only as successful as the account list you build. So if, let's say, like my TAM is small and I I'm A, not reaching to all of them, but B, out even out of like let's say 100, I'm reaching to 30% of wrong accounts, still spending my budget on them. It basically is a waste of your resources, time, energy, wrong spend, right? So I have been focused a lot on how do you actually build the right audience segment. And let me show you what I mean by that. So
Sure. I know you prepared amazing presentation. I would I'm super excited to see that.
yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm going to talk about problem a bit. So here's the thing, right? With mapping your SAM or mapping your TAM, which is your account list, right? The like the primarily sort of tools that we use to build account list, let's say ZoomInfo, Apollo, even Clay, whatever else was, you had certain defined filters within those tools, and you either sort of put in your filters that hey, I need industry fintech, or they don't even have fintech, but industry, let's say financial services, revenue from 10 million till 50 million, and then these job titles or persona, or you sort of went to an agency or a freelancer and be like, hey, source me accounts, or you scrape them. The problem with this sort of way was that they're not built for you. Like they're not built for your company. Like for example, at UserPilot, we were targeting companies, or we still target companies primarily that have a web app. Like those are our customers. There's no tool out there which gives us a list of companies that have a web app. You know, and by web app, we have our own definition of web app. It can't be like a banking app. It needs to be a customer-facing external app where customers log in and do all of that. And you can't sort of get that. So the problem that we faced was we either could go very wide, which was, let's say, financial services, and get a lot of bad fit account and waste spend on them, or go super, super narrow and fit, like sort of miss out on a bunch of good fit accounts that we could have targeted if we went broad, right? So there's no way between them. And that's, I think, still the case with most sort of target audience building or SAM and TAM mapping. Um, and I think there's a better way to do it, to be honest.
I'm super excited to see that. So, how do you build your segmentation? How do you build your list?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what we faced again. So, for just take an example of SaaS, and because we primarily target SaaS companies, right? So, I'll show you how we used to do it and how we do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we, even if we like use, for example, Clay, and use the description field within that, hey, that if a LinkedIn description contains SaaS, pull them in. The problem is SaaS is not limited to just SaaS companies. There can be SaaS agencies, SaaS consultant, SaaS recruiting, anything and everything goes in here, right? And the problem with that is you get bad fit accounts in your TAM or SAM or in your target account list, right? And that's not what you want. And that ruins all of your outbound motion because you're spending volume on them, resources on them, but not just outbound, can be your programmatic LinkedIn advertising, as was our case. Um, what we sort of found through trial and error was there's a better way to go about this, which is pulling in a broader list wherever you can find that. So the first thing is to go understand your customers, pull in that list, enrich that customer list, or let's say if you don't have any customers, find, like, you must have had some hypothesis that you were selling into this particular type of company or contact. Get every data source that you think matters for them. So enrich that list, which is your base list, ideally of your customers, and enrich it with anything and everything that you think is important to you. And that can be number of salespeople in that company, number of job openings that they have right now, what are they hiring for, anything and everything that you think is important to you. For example, for us, things like number of product people, how many features did they ship last year, do they have a relevant job opening, like all of these custom things were very important for us. So what we do is we enrich the base list for our customers, and we use that as our sort of base list to compare against. Then we go and pull in that information from our customer list. Let's say from our customer list, we found that, let's say we pulled in 100 customers, right? Out of those 100 customers, we found that in total, after enriching them, there are 37 industries in total across all of them. We're not going to say, oh, we're only going to take top 10. We go and we pull in every account across those 37 industries. Same for employee size. If the employee sizes range from 10 till, let's say, 5,000, we're not like, oh, 50% are, 500 to 1,000. So we're only going to limit it at that. We don't care about that. We go from the very minimum to the maximum across our customer list. So we pull like sort of broad list, and we try and get as many companies, as many titles later on for the contact list, because later on is when we classify. So what happens was, like, we pull in accounts, and this is like a huge bunch of accounts, and there's so many bad fit companies as well, of course, but with this method, we don't miss out on good fit accounts, which is the thing that we really care about, you know. And what we do is, so this is the part that is your baseline, the truth, which is, once you have a customer list, and you enrich them, so what's like a good account and a good contact for you. You pull in all accounts, so this is all accounts across whatever you can find within your data set. You then enrich the accounts that you pulled in for the same data points that you enriched your customer list with. So that gives you a baseline of, hey, so you have your customer list enriched with all of the data points you care about. You have the full broad list enriched with all of the data points that you cared about. And then this is where the main part comes in, and sort of a trial and error method, which is scoring and segmentation. So the scoring is very, very personalized for each company and very contextual. For example, for us, certain things are ranked higher than the rest. For example, revenue is not a metric that we care about, but tool stack that they use is a metric that's ranked highly, and it's weighted more than anything else. Same for employee size. We use that as a proxy for revenue, for example. So scoring is where you sort of do a trial and error, and you figure out, and you, of course, for example, for us, we worked a lot with Claude. So we're like, compare this base list of our customers to the full broad list and see what are the patterns, and what yeah, so this scoring bit is the scoring that gives us which accounts do we put in which basket, which is, does it go to our TAM? So this maybe later is TAM, what we call internally TAM. This strong fit is what we call SAM. Our SAM accounts are our target account list, and then everything else falls into exclude and then others. So once they sort of pass the scoring, they get to the right bucket in our HubSpot list, which is either SAM or TAM or others and exclude. And that's when we have a full account list within HubSpot enriched fully. So we don't need to enrich it more because it's fully enriched. It just gets refreshed again and again then.
That's interesting. And then, yes, we can continue. And then from there, you do the first outbound and inbound both together. How do you build? You share, as I understand, you have a share account list, or do you for a marketing and sales? Do you have a shared account list, or you have a separate account list?
So we have been very, very sort of loud advocates that sales and marketing should always share the same account list. And we operate with the same mantra as well. So for us, no one, no, not sales, not marketing, no, like nothing operates outside of our target account list. So we have one target account list, which again we call SAM, and then TAM is sort of good fit accounts, but like not the priority right now. So marketing and sales are both focused on SAM, the good fit strong accounts. Um, and like new accounts get added to it automatically, bad fit accounts get removed as well if, let's say, something happens. So but we only work on the same accounts, and we're very strong advocates about that.
So you are the one who manages the account list. How do you remove in the accounts, and how do you add some accounts? What is Is it based on your ads and outbound campaign results, or how do you do that?
So we have two main things. So like again, everything for us is scored the same way. So even when an inbound account comes in, an inbound, let's say someone comes in for a demo and we capture their account, it goes through the same account enrichment, it goes through the same scoring, and then if it passes that, it gets bucketed into either SAM or TAM. So we don't manually do this now. We have workflows that sort of does everything right now based on the same processes. Same for when we go and source accounts. So let's say we like there's a campaign that we want to run against maybe the insurance industry, right? And we go in and pull accounts. Once we pull in the accounts, the whole process repeats automatically. The whole new list with the empty properties are then pulled into Clay, enriched with all of the data points, pushed back into HubSpot. HubSpot workflow scores them, puts them into the right SAM or TAM bucket, or others are exclude, and then we have the final list. So for us, everything inbound, outbound, no matter what, it follows the same process where if an account comes in, no matter from where, it gets enriched, gets scored, gets segmented. And if an account, let's say, gets acquired or gets, company goes bankrupt or a product is sunsetting, um, it gets, for us, the refresh time is 90 days just because of the costs. So it automatically goes into the not to target segment, which is our exclude function.
Absolutely. So you have a disqualification criteria as well, right?
Yeah, we have an exit criteria for this.
Identifying the right champion, a right decision maker is a real challenge nowadays. How do you identify the right decision maker? There are, like, I'm sure there is. You must have users in particular one particular account. There are various champions you are targeting. Whether it's a champion, it's a decision maker. So how do you identify the right decision maker for your targeting?
So we have two different ways of working around this. One is where once we have segmented the accounts, we build out two things. One is the account intelligence based on everything that we can gather on the account. And the second thing is contact intelligence for all of the contacts within that account. So let's say an account called Salesforce is in our list, right? And we have everything for Salesforce. But what we also do is we pull in every single contact in Salesforce that lives in our HubSpot or in our CRM, and every single interaction that that contact did. And what we build is sort of a map with contact intelligence that, let's say if Meghna works at Salesforce and Meghna's title is Chief Product Officer, she was on a trial last year. It didn't work out because AE noted down as not responsive. Since then, she's done two website visits, pricing and demo. After that, there's nothing happening, there's no activity. So we built out this elaborate sort of mapping and what we call contact intelligence and account intelligence, and then use that. Sort of what we've tried and tested is we don't we sort of built out our contact scoring as well, and we've just bucketed them. We have increased our volume to a point where we have a bucket called hot contacts at those accounts, and that is our what we consider our champions. And we like sort of target all of them regardless of when they flow in, so that way we don't miss out on anyone, and that includes everything. If a contact in our target account list is our product user, even if it's on a free trial, or they was like did our interactive demo, or they were on our webinar, or they attended our event, like in-person event or dinner, and all of this information for us lives in our CRM. We pull that in, combine everything, all of the context for that contact, and build out this contact intelligence, and then feed that back in to both marketing and sales, and of course a programmatic side, so that that person at that account is being targeted or is being reached out with the right messaging. So that's how sort of we focus on our champions.
That's interesting. How I'm curious now. How do you do the hyper personalization? The problem per persona faces. Like CEO might have some different problems. So how do you manage the messaging and which message has to go when? So do you have some mechanism even for that?
I'll show my clay table if that's not a problem.
Sure.
Uh, so we have a triangular that we work out of, which is the persona linked to the jobs to be done, because we serve a lot of use cases, a lot of personas: product marketing, CS, CXO, marketing. Each one has a different problem that they solve with user pilot. Same, we have so jobs to be done and the persona. Then we have what the contact did, or the contact sort of interaction with user pilot or anything else. And then we have the account. So we sort of build out a triangle of personalization which links the jobs to be done for that persona, the contact intelligence that we gathered from our CRM and from outside third party signals, and then all of the account intelligence to sort of link what this persona cares about, and what they can solve with user pilot, what what sort of interaction history they have with user pilot, like do they know us, do they not know us, are they cold, whatever, and where does the account sit, like are they sunsetting a competitor, are they hiring a lot of like our core ICP, are they focused on this, things like that. And sort of we build out this triangle, and that's where we personalize. So I'll show you what that looks like. uh,
Absolutely, I would love to.
so for example, this is where we so this is an overview of our sort of hot segment, right? We pull in all of our target account lists. So this is all of our target account list. And then for our target account list, um, actually, let me quickly stop sharing and then share again so I can share the whole thing. So I'm gonna just do this. Okay. I just didn't wanna share my actual list. So there we go. So this is so for example, right now we have 6,400 rows. I've just kept it empty so I can share exactly what do we get, but all of it is populated. So we pull in the accounts and we get everything that we really care about for that company based on our CRM. So things like, do we need to reach out to them? Can we reach out to them? Can we not reach out to them? Um, we pull in the account intelligence. So account intelligence is what we pull in from, for example, our our history, and it looks something like this. So for example, this is one bet, like, do they have any open deals? Do they, are they spending on expansion, or do they have upcoming sort of hiring, or did the product team grow, are they releasing new features, whatever. And then we have the contact intelligence, which is sort of linked to their job title, every single interaction they've done in the past, right, within our tool and whatnot. And we get, like, we sort of have some documents under this, and we build out a contact intelligence. I can't show you, unfortunately, what that looks like. And then that's where we sort of personalize. So personalizing for us, for example, is based on a lot of our documents. So, for example, we have this one document that's our core, which is the jobs to be done persona framework. And what this is basically for each job title or persona, what jobs to be done do they care about, and how do we solve that. So it's like impact, problem, and how do we fix it. In same way, we have some internal sort of guides that we use to personalize this. One of this is buyer's guide, competitor surveys, some sort of features that we really have, competitors, how do we compare against that, and again some internal documents. And this is exactly how we personalize then both the emails, the LinkedIn copy, and then we send this part out of both contact intelligence and account intelligence into HubSpot as properties for our account-based team to go out and personalize if they want to, for like a subset of accounts or contacts, and sort of build out advertising for them.
Absolutely. So do you have, so this is you've built, can you show a couple of prompts here and couple of fields that you have built here for the personalization? You have uploaded these documents already, or you have asked Clay to build those documents?
No, the documents and everything is it's from mostly our product marketing team. So we give them, or they go and research random customers, competitors, all of that, build out these documents that we can use because they're the ones that are closest to the customers. So
Mm-hmm.
build out the sort of the documents in the way that we can parse them and like sort of use them, and that's when we input it. And these prompts are like a lot of trial and error, and these are very customized to us. For example, I can show you a couple of examples of what the
So how do
out
you do that? Maybe you can show, sorry to interrupt, but maybe you can show that, okay, let's take one example and if you want, I can give you some example and you can build some documents and what you're going to put it here and how do you use that documents for? So we can talk around that.
I will show you an example, if I can right now. um just gonna wait for it to load. Okay, so for example, we have a CPO at a company that is in our target account list, and we have a account intelligence for them, right? And then we have the sort of the uh, let's say the contact intelligence for them as well. What we do is, okay, I think we need to find the email for someone. Let's say we found the email for, actually, let me filter out with, it's not empty. Okay. So we enrich the emails, we get everything, we push that back into HubSpot, we push that into Smart Lead. This is how it looks based on the customization. So for each, for example, contact across its job title, across its everything, we so this is the email personalization bit, right? So we get the subject line, the body, so things like, hey, whatever, this is what they're focused on. And the reason we know that is because of the contact intelligence and the account intelligence, how we help them. And then we always close that with a value prop that we can offer them. And this is where we use Claude. So we don't have all of these assets ready right now. We have built out an internal guide generator that I can show you, which generates these guides for us through, like, based on what we reach them out with. So for example, I'll go back into some of my emails. For example, I this is one of the emails. So we send out, again, this is all automated, personalized, and everything. We send them out that, hey, this is sort of the problem statement that you're focused about. Do you want this? We don't have this ready. And if they respond back with, yes, I'd love to have a look, what we do is we've built an internal app within Cloud Code that is that goes da-da-da, that goes in. Sorry, let me log in. Da-da-da. Yes. So this is our internal app, and basically what it does is, so what like our BDR team or the SDR team goes in, and they sort of copy the email that the person replied with. So I'm just gonna pull this in over here. They just paste that in, and it goes in and goes through all of our target account list and fetches the right account. So in this case, it's settled, right? And a lot of times the domains might be different. So it goes in and it searches, it found the company, it found the account intelligence for them, you confirm it, and then this is the best part. So you basically go in, you paste what you told them that you're going to send them out. So the email you sent, you go back, you just paste what they said, so in case that's what they want, if they don't want this, and you just click on generate PDF. And what this does is it goes through our entire blog across, like, we have a huge sitemap. So it goes through our entire blog, and it goes and generates that playbook based on what we are sort of advocating about. So we have a very robust content team. They publish a lot of blogs. There's a lot of research going in, and we convert that into these personalized assets that we then send out through our emails, through LinkedIn, and then get them to a meeting. So all of this is sort of automated and customized because we have all of the information for the accounts, and we have all of the information from the contacts. And then this is where we use Claude because we want to give our end user value. Like that's what we're here for. We don't want them to go to our, like if we have 10 blogs all talking about different things, but if we can go in and extract information that they want at that point, why not give them into a single, sort of an easy way out? So this is where we do this. It takes like a couple minutes to extract information across all our articles, generate a PDF in our branding, in our style, easy way to get information, and then you just download it and send it over.
This is very interesting. So that's when, like, I was about to ask you the next question. So how does how much Claude you're using, and for what all purpose you're using the Claude? We are talking about the sales right now. So let's stay around, like, outbound and, like, capturing account, lead generation for the Claude. I know Claude has been used also for marketing purpose, generating the content. But if you are only focusing for the lead generation point of view, what are the reasons that you're using Claude for, and how are you using? So what all the workflows are built in within the Claude? If you could explain a little more around this.
So we as a whole, as a company, is trying to like sort of be AI forward. Like very we are a very lean team. So our marketing, we're building out a marketing OS or a marketing brain so that all of our contacts live in a GitHub repo where we can sort of build out landing pages on top of it. The information gets updated automatically. Things like competitor research, like small things, but also like big things as well. So that's like marketing is very like in on Claude, but also for sales as well. Like things like this where so this is an example. Sorry. So it turned that whatever that we were focused on into customized sort of a document for Settle based on what they are focused on. And the content is not AI content. This content is literally from our blog. So it's human researching, writing it out. It's just compiling everything and sort of making it into one document that we can then send out instead of us sending them like to 1,000, blogs. So this is an example of what it
This
looks
is
like.
very interesting. I love this one.
Yeah. So Claude is sort of not just Claude to be honest, but Codex, but whatever. Like this whole sort of um, context engine. What I think I've grabbed for most people is like we're trying to build a context OS, which is we don't want our things to live in silos. We want everything connected. We want everything that's marketing working on connected to what sales at the end is talking about. Same way within marketing, if like there's new information about an account or about a competitor, our landing pages should update automatically. We don't necessarily need to spend like couple of hours on it. So Claude is our main tool right now, and we're trying to sort of switch from our existing workflows onto Claude. So one main example is everything for us lives on Notion internally. We're trying to get that whole we tried Notion MCP. It's not the best to be honest. So we're trying to convert that sort of our documentation, get that into sort of GitHub repo in like markdown files so that it lives across the whole ecosystem. Same for this is as like the lead gen side as well. We're probably going to move off of Clay as a whole and use different APIs and connect that within a sort of a cloud code ecosystem and just run cron automations on them. So the whole plan is to reduce dependencies on interfaces because we can do so much more when we code. So that's the goal, and that's where we're sort of heading as well.
I love this. And how big is your team in general to build this new workflow? Who's building that, and how big is your team? If you could highlight around.
We're a very lean team. We're literally like a one-person department each. So Emilia, who's our VP of marketing, uh, she's the sort of the best leader that you can have in this day and age. So she does a lot of this herself, like a lot of the projects she's leading out in front. And then we have each stakeholder. So like marketing manager Natalia, she handles all of the landing pages, things, and all of that. I'm sitting in the ops side of things, so I handle everything like you saw, automations, workflows, account lists, everything in between, basically. And then we have like some specialized team like content, head of content, and all of that, and they're sort of responsible for everything content related. So it's a very lean team. I think now we're 10 people in marketing in total, and then 72 across the whole company, and across sales and marketing and even customer success, basically all go to market functions. We're very much now sort of going ahead with sort of not just Claude Code, but a mixture of Claude Code, Codex, Replit, Cursor, all of this, and trying to move our dependencies off of interfaces, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. This is all. This looks very good. Thank you so much for sharing all the informations. It's going to be very useful for somebody who's actually building AI. AI generated the whole outbound and inbound whole marketing and sales system. The conversation is going to be very useful. Thank you so much, Bilal, for sharing it.
Of course, my pleasure.